G'day, welcome to Oly35mm, user-based, quasi-empirical, cheap and cheerful videos on Olympus 35mm cameras. And today I'd like to share with you what I think is the pinnacle of a certain series of the Olympus 35mm cameras. That's the Olympus iS-3000. A large camera, as you can see, here's my hands, about a kilo in weight roughly. I've added an extension lens and also a flash just to make it look even more impressive, and I'm guessing that between them, with batteries and film, you're probably looking at about 1.8 kilos or something. So she's a pretty fierce camera to be had, but a fantastic camera. So just let me take the flash off and take the 28mm lens converter off, and I'll show you the actual camera itself. Okay, so we have a 35 to 180mm lens, which is as clear as anything. It's a beautiful lens. We have a built-in flash, so you don't have to use that. If I can turn the thing on, I'll just turn him on and I'll pop up the flash. You have a built-in flash with a guide number of 28. The external flash is a guide number of 40. And we have, unfortunately, the external flash is a proprietary flash, so you can't use standard or generic flashes on it, which is a damn shame. We have an extension strap, which you don't actually have to have, but it certainly makes it much more comfortable and very easy to use one-handed, providing of course you don't need to use the zoom function, which is, if I just turn it back on again, the zoom function is like so. And if we have a look at the front, you'll see that there's 35 all the way to 180 marks, and there is also a macro setting, which is at 0.6 of a meter, which runs from 35 through to about 120mm, I think. The camera was designed in the late 80s, and the very first model of this particular series, the iS-1000 came out in 1990. The iS-2000 came out in 1991, and this 3000 model came out in 1993. There was a future model after that, the iS-5000, which did come out sometime later, but I think this is the pinnacle of the designs. I think so anyway. Why do I like it so much? Okay, right from the start, Olympus decided that they wanted to build it around the lens, and so even though there were quite a few innovations, as you can see by the ergonomic shape, they decided that it needed to be a great lens. This is a 16 element lens in 15 groups with an ED lens somewhere hiding in the middle there. Minimum focus of which is set by the macro setting on the front there. Minimum focus distance of 0.6 meters. There was 1.2 meters without the macro function. Plus, if I just stretch over here, there was also a screw-on lens which gave you a 40mm macro function as well, and then you actually clip this onto the little lens as well, and you could still use flash as well. It would actually squelch down the flash just that little bit extra. Only the internal flash again. The external flash wouldn't cover off the macro, or not to my knowledge anyway. Okay, what else have we got? We've got on the back, we've got several functions, and hopefully you can actually see it here. If I just turn you on, press the mode function, and then press the shift, hopefully you'll see, if I can get it to work, it shifts through the standard PASM, and the P setting has what they call Electro Selective pattern, which means that if there's a great deal of difference in light between the edge and also the center, it will actually compensate for it, and I believe that it works very, very well, although I tend to use it in aperture preferred mode. It also has 4 features, exposure features, that you sort of find on more modern cameras. It has portrait, it has sports, it has landscape, and also has a nighttime mode as well. So we're talking about 2,000 of a second down to 15 seconds in the night mode setting, although it might be 10, I can't quite remember. But anyway, there is a limitation there somewhere. It might be in the night mode setting, but there's also a 15-second slow shutter speed as well there. ISO 25 through to 5,000. Oh, crikey, all sorts of stuff. What else have we got? Spot metering. There's a spot metering section on the back, and look, I'm not too sure what it is, but it's probably about 6 degrees, I would say, of spot metering. So that little bit in the center. There is in the center, in the viewfinder, you'll actually find aperture, shutter speed, spot metering, and what do you call it? Macro settings in there, and also flash charge and flash exposure lights will actually tell you what's going on, so you don't need to take your eye away from the viewfinder. Now, what you would expect in a camera like this is some sort of diopter control. Unfortunately not. It's one of the two things that I don't like about this. The one is the external flash, which is its own proprietary setting, but the second one is you actually need to take this eyepiece off and you need to replace it with another accessory eyepiece, which is unfortunately a little bit of a shame. There were all sorts of good excuse me, all sorts of good design elements in there. It feels very, very nice in the hand. I love this, and I can actually carry it around for hours, even though it's quite heavy, with this strap, and hardly even notice that I'm carrying it. It's really that comfortable. Everything's where it should be, either with your thumb or with your finger. Everything works beautifully. And there's even a power focus setting there, which is in that little button there. I'm not too sure if you can see it or not, but the power focus setting, so if it's having problems with focusing, and it's pretty good on the focusing, on the autofocus, if you're having problems focusing, you can actually switch that on, and these go from being a zoom indicator, or sorry, a zoom control to a focus control, and that actually works very, very well. Okay, what more can I tell you about it? I told you about the B28mm lens, which screws on the front on this 55mm mount. There is also a B300, which takes it up to a 300mm lens, so you then have a zoom range from 28 to 300mm, which is really quite amazing. Then you have the macro as well, the B40cm macro. Anything with a B on it basically is an accessory for this. Anything with an A on it is an accessory for either the iS-3000 or the iS-1000. The G40 flash will actually fit all three of the units. What can I say about it? I did tell you I liked it. Look, I love it. It's probably one of my top 6 Olympus cameras that I've used. So much so that I'm intending on selling most of the Oly35mm collection when this project is over, and I am really, really having problems letting go of this. I don't know if it will actually leave the collection. It is such a nice camera to use. There's a lot to like about them. There's a lot to like about the 1000 series. That's the 1000, 2000, 3000, and the 5000. The 200 series, sorry, my apologies, the 100 series, the iS-100, 200, 300 are pretty basic. The lenses aren't as good, but they're also good fun to use, and they're a heck of a lot lighter, but they don't have the multi-features that these cameras have. You can pick them up for a song. I've picked up one of these for $10. I've picked up one of these for $20. Nobody values these things anymore, and it is an absolute shame, because this is a beautiful camera. You'll be happy with the 1000, 2000, 3000, but you cannot go past the 3000 as far as I'm concerned. And there's not really a lot of difference in weight between those three models. The iS-5000 is a little bit lighter and comes in a funky gold color. The only thing I did forget to tell you from there, and it says I'm talking, it reminds me, both the external flash, the G40, and also the internal flash have the Super FP function, which means you can actually use it past the standard 100th of a second, flash synchronization speed all the way up to 1/2000th of a second. So for fill-in flash, it's absolutely fantastic. There is a flash mode on here. There is auto, there is fill-in, there is obviously auto off, and there's an auto red eye reduction in there as well. There's a drive mode of single and continuous, which is up to about 2 frames per second, and there is also double exposure mode as well, so it makes it very, very creative. If you're thinking about this camera, if you like it from what I've said, do yourself a favor, go out and buy one. Absolutely top notch, great fun. Well, that's your lot for today. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.